We can start. Yes. Okay, we have, I think most of the people, or a lot of the people have joined in now. I would like to thank you all for your interest in following the BlueMed e-training, and to all the panelists for their participation. Today is the last of our webinars and the last lesson offered as part of the course in understanding and acting for a healthy plastic-free Mediterranean Sea, which has so far covered litter issues from scientific, economical, and today on the citizen awareness and citizen science aspects. Just to close the circle of what we think are the major issues relating to litter in the Mediterranean. So without further delay, I will pass the floor to Alba and Rita Giuffredi from the BlueMed team and CNR that have organized today's webinar, which is different from the rest because it's not just one speaker, but a panel of experts and citizens participating. So I think it should be very interesting. Alba, we can't hear you.
Yes. Now we are on. So thank you, Erasmia, and thank you and welcome to all people that we unfortunately cannot see, but we know there should be many people connected, maybe 100 people. So there is interest on this issue. So as Erasmia already pointed out, our webinar positions at the end of this BlueMed e-training initiative. After having explored the contribution of research and innovation on understanding plastic pollution, its impact on the different sectors of the blue economy, it's time to explore the role of the citizens and stakeholders in the marine circular economy. So I and Rita Giuffredi both collaborate with the BlueMed Coordination and Support Action, particularly supported and promoted this webinar, as we are convinced that this public role can be a proactive one, going from just becoming ocean literate or aware of the marine related issues, which we indeed find very important, but also beyond, to also actively contributing to the framing of the problems and not only to the solutions of marine issues. So this is another way to put in practice BlueMed's approach to a shared sustainable management of the Mediterranean. It's not only our opinion, there are many evidences, and also the fact that so many of you are here means that there is an interest toward this. Many evidences tell us that a sustainable ocean is only possible with the collaboration with broad sectors of the society. This is why we invited a panel of experts who are some key actors of this collaboration, who will bring their voice. And before exploring all the projects that are very rich and interesting and all the initiatives they bring, let me give the floor to Rita, who will offer us a brief introduction on the basic concepts and the most common forms of public engagement, such as citizen science. Some of them are quite popular, or some of them are less popular, like responsible research and innovation, that are all terms that will be mentioned in the abstract of the sessions, and also will be mentioned, you will hear about when the panelists will describe their experience. So this is a way to make you more, those who are not familiar, to make them more familiar, and also maybe to appreciate more the different experience our panelists are bringing. So please, Rita.
So thank you, Alba. Give me just the feedback, because sharing the presentation, I don't see anymore the control board. So you should be able to hear me, to see me, and to see my presentation, correct?
I can hear you, I can see you, and then now the slide is engaging citizens and community.
Perfect. So as you were mentioning, I'm really going to make a very brief introduction to the both to the concepts and to the, let's call it theoretical or scholarly landscape where these activities of citizens or public engagement position. So as is the philosophy of the session, we will start from the hows. I wrote as a subtitle the whys and hows, but I would like to start from the hows. So we take, as Alba was mentioning, a closer look to these terms and these practices and theories, because actually these are all practices except RRI, Responsible Research and Innovation, which is more an umbrella theory under which all these position now. And you will hear much more and much better about these practices from our panelists who really experienced these activities and these practices. And only at the end, we'll have a couple of minutes to discuss the reason, objectives, and the whys, as I was mentioning. So starting from the first, the concept of literacy. And this here you find the definition of UNESCO of ocean literacy. It was really hard, I have to confess, to find exact definitions of these practices because these are complex concepts, but also with many aspects and also in evolution. Sometimes there are clouds of concept and not exact broad, sharp definition. So what I will do is to give more operational definitions like what you do in hard sciences. So we will talk about how they work more than what they are, let's say. And here you find the first, an ocean literate person understands the importance of the ocean to humankind, can communicate about the ocean in a meaningful way, and is able to make informed and responsible decisions regarding the ocean and its resources. This is for UNESCO, and panelists will tell you more about this. A note on the concept of literacy, as for its principal meaning. Usually, when you talk about literacy, you refer to providing people with, let's say, the necessary coordinates regarding a topic. This concept does implicitly it implies that there is a lack of knowledge in a part or a majority of the public, but this lack of knowledge is problematic, and the proponents of, let's say, ocean literacy exercises see this knowledge as crucially important for the purposes, in this case, of ocean health and sustainability. So literacy usually works by focusing on filling the gap of knowledge and providing the necessary tools, mostly, for example, by educational activities. In this case, you see that we are already departing from the strict definition, because here we don't only talk about knowledge, but we immediately refer to behaviors. So informed and responsible decision regarding the ocean. So this already shows you how the differences between the different concepts, from example, from the one that is following, that awareness is quite blurred, because I was saying awareness. With the concept of awareness, we go a little bit further and we put the accent on behavior, behavioral changes that spring from the increase in knowledge. So awareness raising campaigns usually focus on behavioral change and on, let's say, the acknowledgement of the personal impact. You have one of the many definitions here. This focuses on the fact that you don't raise awareness just telling people what they are supposed to do. So the accent on personal decisions. And just a brief note on these community stakeholders or public awareness. This first part of the concept refers to who is proposing and who is receiving the activity of awareness raising, because usually, like we say, community, we usually think about the target group of an institution, like a university. A university targets its community or local community mainly. While, for example, project and administrations tend to involve stakeholders, so groups that carry an interest and that need to negotiate about possibly conflicting interests. While using public, usually we position either in the communication or the deliberative arena. Let's move further. Engagement. The concept of engagement was for sure the most difficult to define. Notwithstanding, we used it as a title of the presentation. So this is because actually it marks a turning point in the practice and understanding of this kind of activities. Because when we refer to public or citizens engagement, we denote a whole movement that actually began with the critical studies on science and science communication on one side, and with science policy studies on the other, that were mostly focused on criticizing the top-down frame of science educational campaigns that were carried on at the end of the last century, like, for who knows it, the public understanding of science movement, which were proved to rely on a vision of a public that was mostly ignorant or unaware of the dynamics of science. And as let's say, as the scholar, the STS scholar Sheila Jasanoff wrote, these citizenry would be at the end unable to carry the burden of complex democracies. So promoters of public engagement conversely moved from the acknowledgement of lay local knowledge and of the complexity and the complementarity of the different perspectives of the various sectors involved. And all these perspectives and the layers of knowledge needed to be included if one wanted to obtain a reliable, comprehensive, and let's say robust decision. So especially this kind of debates were centered around contested science-based issues, on which there were protests like GMOs in the last century, but we see also today that the pandemic's crisis exposed the nerves of the difficulties of the interaction of all the actors regarding a science-based issue. So we are living it also today mostly. But let's move further. Citizen science is positioned firmly on the other side of this paradigm change, let's say, because here you notice that the flow of knowledge goes from the public to the scientists. So if for literacy or awareness raising, we had a flow of knowledge that from the scientific community was brought to the people, with citizen science, you have the opposite direction. So you have different styles of citizen science, from the, let's say, the people considered as human sensors, to what is called extreme citizen science experiments, or real collaboration in doing science by experts and non-experts at the same time. And here again, you will hear much more from our panelists who experienced the citizen science activities and organized them, and can tell you how it worked and how it was successful and why. At the end, I kept RRI as I was mentioning at the end, because responsible research and innovation is the meaning of the acronym, I forgot to put it, is all the, let's say, the theoretical umbrella that is currently grouping all these engagement practices, in addition to the other thematic dimensions of RRI, which are science education, gender balance, open science, ethics, and science governance. So this concept really grouped together different streams of research in different disciplines, and usually represents the widest umbrella under which activities are carried on. So you understand from this very quick overview that there are some dimensions, some points that need to be kept into account, kept in mind. So as I was saying many times, there is a progression from a monodirectional flow to a bidirectional or multidirectional flow of knowledge from the various sectors of society. There is also the emergence of a reflection over the same nature of knowledge and of science and the embodiments of knowledge that is characterized by an enlargement of the understanding of knowledge from the codified textbook rational knowledge to forms of tacit knowledge, even to knowledge incorporated in artifacts on landscapes. So underlying these, the evolution of these practices, there is also this changing vision of knowledge. And besides this, the enlargement of the arena of the people involved, so all the actors involved. And besides this, again, there is also a special attention to the non-rational components of knowing. So you see here in the last definition also that IREA is concerned with the values, needs, and expectations of society. You can hear about the fears, the concerns, the desires of society. So non-rational components of knowing. And finally, when we have seen from the beginning that all these exercises are focused, are targeted to help and inform decision making. So either be it in the private or in the public sphere, so on personal behavior or on a public decision, shared decision mostly by governments. And this means that we are finally positioning in the context of contemporary democratic societies. So we are ending up talking about politics. So concluding, as you saw, it was really not hard, not easy to define the different practices, but and definitely it was not a technical neutral activity. So I think now we have the tools to discuss the whys. So and actually we did it already. So here you have, I hope the slide has already changed. Here you have a short list, a non-exhaustive short list of the whys of engaging, but I would like to ask our panelists really what are their whys, so what are their reasons. So of course engaging is useful to ameliorate the cultural incorporation of science in society, to improve, as we were saying, the quality of knowledge, including local or lay knowledge and diversity of perspective, to make more inclusive choices regarding science-based issues. And I have to confess, this is where my heart beats, to ground this emerging right of scientific citizenship in the context of contemporary democratic knowledge-based societies. So this is my really short, non-exhaustive list. I would like to ask the panelists to go further. And in the meanwhile, I give the floor again to Alba for introducing our speaker to you.
Thank you, Rita, very much for having given this wide panorama of what it is, what do we talk about when we talk about public engagement, not a technical, of course, means, but a means that can bring different purposes. It's a complex activity. Let's start this. So now we can enter the heart of the webinar, where each of the panelists, I will present in a few seconds, will bring a different experience with respect to engagement mode, involved community, country-specific context, and marine issue, and reference basin. Experiences will not only refer to Mediterranean, but also to Atlantic, Black Sea, and we will not only have people coming from EU countries, but also from non-EU countries, as we think this whole paints a richer landscape. In particular, in the last two contributions, we will have two of our 5 BlueMed, young BlueMed ambassadors from Tunisia and from Morocco, who will broaden the panorama, bring their own perspective. Just a few recommendations to my panelists. The time is short, is actually 10 minutes is enough to explore what you have to say. So I will ask you just to be very essential in describing the projects, because we can share info and send links to the audience, but to devote the major part of your intervention to the answer to the main question that Rita was already introducing before. That is, why did you work on engaging more people in your projects? We know that sometimes it is time consuming, and it is important to understand the reason. and the reason why you open it to citizens. And if it was successful in your specific case, how it enriched the initiative or contributed to the topic. We are sure that these practical stories, your practical stories, will also inspire further reflections in the audience. The webinar is being recorded, so you are not losing a word. And of what will be said, you can send questions you have on your console. I don't know if you are familiar with GoToWebinar, but anyway, you have the possibility to chat and to send us some questions or some comments. You can address some questions, so you can write if you want to address to some specific, of course, panelists, and we will come again to the answer questions at the end of this webinar. So now I leave the room to Francesca Ronchi, I thank for being present. She's a biologist of the Italian National Institute for Environmental Research and Protection, which is ISPRA. She has a long experience in the European projects related to marine litter assessment and management. She's experienced also in responsible research and innovation in the marine sector, and science and society issue, science policy interface, and she is, last but not least, also the founder of the newborn Italian Ocean Literacy Association. So please.
One of the founders, let's say. I don't take all the credits for me. So it's okay, can you see my screen?
Okay.
Yes?
Yes, yes. Yes, we
okay.
can.
Okay, sorry, because I can see you. Okay, so thank you, first of all, for this invitation and for giving me the opportunity to share with you and all the audience our experience. And also thanks for the really nice introduction on this engagement definition. So as already said, public engagement is one of the pillars of the RRI framework. And we know that the relevance is nowadays globally recognized. So indeed, it is included in all the directives, plans and strategies made by Europe or other international organizations. So what I would like to do is just give you a perspective on the links among stakeholders' engagement and policies, and how science can play effectively a role, a very important role, by linking somehow these two. So somehow I will answer to the question why that you posed, Rita. So, in fact, including the society in the research and innovation agenda for us make the science and policy process to anticipate what the society wants and needs. And it was also important to align science and innovation with the needs and concerns of the society. And so, thanks to these two things, to become more responsive. I mean, give responses to real demands and expectation in due time, let's say. So ISPRA, just you already said that, but you know, ISPRA is a public research institute with the institutional duties in all the environmental issues in Italy, and we are the support of the Ministry of the Environment, Land and Sea. Me personally, I work in a group that focuses on marine biodiversity and resources, and we have already quite a long experience in engaging relevant stakeholders, such as fishers, of course, in the co-creation of knowledge in fish ecology, alien species, and of course marine litter. This is why I am here. So we started with the project GAP and GAP 2. So we started engaging a group of fishers in Chioggia, which is a fishery town near Venice in Italy. And we engaged them in the marine resources co-management. The project's main results were the integration among fishers and researchers' knowledge to build and propose a new and shared hypothesis of management to the competent authorities. So this was the first level of the results, but in our opinion, the higher level, the most important maybe results of these two projects were the trust of fishers in scientists and in science-based approach in general, let's say, let's say, which led to the willingness to cooperate with us. So as a result of that, this group of fishers collaborating with us raised to our attention the massive presence of litter on their nets back in 2012. So please note that in those days, marine litter was not the global issue it is now, and only a small group of scientists knew what marine litter was, and people, me and you, so we were happily accepting double straws in our cocktails, so we won't do that now. And so fishers asked for solution, and their input ignited our participation to the project The Fish Gear. Among other activities, more scientific activities, the most important thing here is that in 2013 we started the implementation of the initiative called Fishing for Litter. And in 2018, a second project called ML Repair was built with only with the Croatian partners to follow up the results of the first one. And both projects required not only the engagement, let's say, but the actual full involvement of the fishers in the action foreseen by the projects in the grant agreement, so really tight cooperation. So a couple of words, but I think you know, but just to summarize, Fishing for Litter is a cleanup action, basically involving the fishery sector. So the waste that lies on the seafloor is commonly captured by fishing nets, and especially bottom trawl nets. And if fishermen can dispose of these items on land, the result is a direct removal of waste from the sea. So this initiative consists in providing fishers with bags, ensuring that disposal facilities are established on land, easy to access, and that there are no costs for them, of course. So during the first project, more than 124 vessels were involved in this activity, so really a lot of fishers in 5 countries along the Adriatic Sea, and they collected more than 100 tons of litter, so in practical results were also great. But during the second project, this one. The second, more than 100 again vessels were involved, and again we had a lot of tons of litter removed from the sea. The second project involved only 2 countries, Italy and Croatia. So, you know, in Chioggia, for example, our study area, fishers collected also from 1 to 18 bags of litter per working day. So they were all committed to clean the sea. They were calling themselves cleaner of the sea, and using their time, energy, and also in part money. They were very proud of this role, and they have the role that they can really actually have in restoring the good status of the sea, which is a very important resource for them, of course. But also they were complaining about the fact that this additional work often is not rewarded or even recognized sometimes. So if some of you have ever been on board fishing vessels, you can understand how every additional task in their working routine is really an immense effort. So, you know, one of the captains lost his crew because of this. So it's a very heavy work to do. So despite the extraordinary results, we faced countless obstacles, lack of legislation, logistic issues, misuse of the facilities. So a lot of this, but this is another story, and you can find some information on the paper on the screen. But what is important here to highlight today is that the cooperation with the fishing sector was crucial. So, for example, science innovation, you know, often fail to anticipate future societal needs. But thanks to the engagement of fishers in our activities, for example, we start working on the marine litter issue very soon, and all the Adriatic countries participating in these 2 projects are now benefiting from that in terms of capacity building, scientific results, possibility to participate in other projects, and so on. Also, we were able to drive the research agenda in a direction that met the needs of this target group because they asked for that. And lastly, we could provide relevant data. So this is another why as an answer. Data on marine litter, insights on the barriers that we could give to our Italian competent authorities and policymakers. And our data supported the decision of the Ministry of the Environment to include this scheme, the Fishing for Litter scheme, in the Italian ministry, in the Italian program of measures for the Marine Strategy Directive as a new measure. So that was a very important step. And again, in 2019, the Italian Ministry of the Environment, anticipating the application of another European directive, proposed the decree Salva Mare, which had a more clear indication inside on marine litter management, cost distribution, so all the obstacles that we encountered during this implementation. We took part to the technical discussion of this decree, and most of our proposal came directly from the fishery voice, I must say, also during our lively meetings. So also if the policy, we also see that that policy still advances at a lower speed than innovation and societal needs, because we found these problems in 2013, and now they are starting to put the law in the application, receiving the European directives, etc. So we have a certain delay of that, but anyhow, lots of steps have been done in the topic of marine litter management, and we feel that the engagement of the fishery sector was essential and is still essential to build this bridge among science, so things that we can find society, so what they really, what are their needs, their concerns, and also their aspiration, and policy, which most of the times is quite far from the citizenry. So we are happy to be part of this process, and I think also among the several difficulties, I think that they also were happy to be part of this big process. Sorry. Yes, that's my experience. So for me, it's okay. I don't know if it's all right with the time.
I find it was a very interesting and inspiring presentation. I would say inspiring lessons, first of all, that public engagement, not only on public engagement, but also on communication among communities, so the difficulties to communicate among communities. And I would say just two lessons. One, that the care for the environment is not a prerogative of science or scientists and/or policy, but can come, as you have demonstrated, also from other actors, so like fishers, and also that the role of fishers was crucial in making the policymaking process responsive.
Absolutely.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you also for the empathic approach that you have also in making this presentation. So now it's the turn, thank you again. So now it's the turn of Lucia Frago Lago from Spain. Okay, Lucia. Lucia graduated in Science and of the Sea. She coordinated the training department of the Technology Center of the CETMAR. She developed the projects to promote the blue skills, social literacy. She has been responsible for management also of a training center that is called IXOLA. And she coordinates Blueprint Mates project that aims to create skilling strategies for shipbuilding and offshore renewable energy sectors. So, please.
Thank you very much, Alba, for your presentation and also for the invitation to this session. Today, I am going to present you an activity that our center, CETMAR, the Technology Center of the Sea, is coordinating in the Atlantic area. It's a project called Clean Atlantic, which is with the main aim of tackling marine litter in the Atlantic area. But we have, all of us have considered that it could be an inspiring activity for other areas. And I will show you in a brief presentation or main activity, but in particular, what are we doing regarding to the awareness raising of the project? As I said, this is a project to improve knowledge on marine litter and our capabilities to tackle it. So we are working in the development of models of transport and mapping of hotspots of marine litter, monitoring and data management. We are also mapping data knowledge to identify all the resources that we can use to tackle marine litter, especially in the Atlantic area. We have also some common resources that may be applied to any area. We are also making pilot experiences about waste management in ports and on board, and developing an important activity on the capitalization of the results of the project with the ISPRA community and also with the maritime strategies. And as a link of the most part of the activities that the project is undertaking, we have a work package devoted to awareness raising. And it's working as a link because most of the activities are quite related and linked with the different activities that the project is developing, as I will show you in this presentation. The goal of this awareness raising strategy is to create awareness on marine litter pollution. And also, as we have mentioned in the previous presentation, is to obtain a behavioral change among the target public and also the general public, in order to generate a positive influence over biodiversity policies and the environment. So we must change the perception and the and also the way of acting of the people. This is the goal. And in order to do this, we developed a strategy that we started to develop on a core group, but we have fine-tuned with the rest of the partners of the project. And we have inspired by two different theories that will make like an answer to the question about why are you involving the community in your activity. On one hand, we have tried to align our strategy with the connected learning theory. And what is the idea in learning is to base the learning process in three main ideas or characteristics. One of them is the peer-supported learning. So we are trying to develop activities that take place within informal spaces where the peer group, which may be friends, but also people that do not have a working connection, let's say, share activities and help and support each other in different experiences. The other important characteristic to have an oriented learning. So the actions should produce an impact in the real world, and the learner should perceive and notice this. So we have tried to also integrate this characteristic in our activities. And this is very important, and interest-powered learning. Any activity or any task that is proposed and its contexts are relevant and meaningful for all participants. And this is, in many cases, this means that they participate because they want. We are not imposing any activity, even when we work with schools or with different communities. And when we get these three components, what was like a bidimensional figure gets more importance and transforms in a three-dimensional learning, which is what we mean the connected learning. On the other hand, we have inspired our strategy in the key success factors that have been identified for the awareness raising strategies. And we took into account the 9 key areas, but I wish to highlight one of them, which is related with this engagement of the society, which is the stakeholder engagement. It is of key importance when we are developing an awareness-raising strategy to involve and engage various stakeholders and to create a strong networking. And this is also, this means that if we are able to involve different types of stakeholders to work together in an oriented learning, the result will be much more relevant in order to create awareness and any change of way of acting for the people that is participating in the activity. So these may be the reasons for trying to put so much effort in involving the society and to really integrate them in many of the activities of the project. I had prepared a slide about ocean literacy, but this has been presented already in the general presentation. So we didn't mention on the first moment the ocean literacy in our awareness-raising strategy, but indeed we are influencing because we are trying to communicate to the target public which is their ocean influence, their influence in the ocean, and which is the influence of them. So, and also we are trying to convince them and to get them to make informed and responsible decisions regarding the ocean and its resources. Of course, in the case of Clean Atlantic, this is addressing their relation with marine litter. And if we go to the definition of ocean literacy, it has 7 principles. So the Clean Atlantic project is mainly addressing the 6th one of them, which is the ocean and humans are inextricably interconnected. And in particular, humans affect the ocean in a variety of ways. One of them is the generation of marine litter. And sometimes this may start very far away from the ocean. And the other one is that everyone is responsible for caring for the ocean. One thing that we are trying to integrate in all the actions are some guidelines on how can I act individually, how can I act as a community, because it's very important for them to be able to take action after being aware about the impact of the marine litter. So I have here some slides to present the different ways in which we have taken into consideration these theories. So in one hand, we have some activities that are addressing the scholar communities, and we would like to, with them, to build on existing knowledge. So we are in those activities working with teachers and students in primary schools. This is one of the type of activities that have been mainly conducted when we talk about ocean literacy, because it was born for in order to form the scholar community. So we are in this sense making resources easily accessible. We have a database that will be soon be released to the public with a lot of records included in the Clean Atlantic knowledge tool. And there is a selection of materials provided to 2 primary schools in Galicia. As the database is not public, we have made specific selections for some organizations that are collaborating with us. And we created different materials adapted to them in order to make very interactive activities and to facilitate their integration into the curricula. Then we did different presentations at schools and at learn at partners' premises and beach cleanup activities. The next step will be presented in another slide, because we are going to propose this mixture of different stakeholders putting together these students with the different stakeholders that are also collaborating. Here we have an example. When we developed the numerical models, there were some activities for the validation in which the high school students were involved. And this is also related to the citizen science, maybe, because the students were working to make the characterization of the hotspots of the marine litter, sharing photos on Instagram and counting these mussel specks, which are these like these sticks that you can see in the photo that are used in the mussel raft to retain the mussels in the rope. And this is a type of marine litter very particular for this area, which is used to trace the movement of the marine litter, because we can know from which mussels raft they come from, and we can then, if we mark them, we can then mark how the marine litter has moved. They collected a lot of mussel specks, 7,100, and they made a lot of monitor and more than 600 photos. And it was an activity that supported the development of the numerical model, but that's very important for the raising awareness of the importance of marine litter, and also to promote this among the sector also, because they made activities for communication of this activity. We also involved fishermen in fishing for litter, and here is where we made contacts between fishermen and school kids with different synergies. There were some protocols for fishing for litter that were tested with the project, and in Portugal, the children's participating in the beach cleanings also crafted an award to acknowledge the work of fishermen. And in Spain, the schools is visiting the fishermen guilds that are working in the for litter actions. There is a day at the school planned that will be next year, because we had the stop of the activities because of the COVID-19. We also worked with divers, and we had some activities to involve the Institute of Aquaculture Training and the teachers and students that are being trained in the diving activities. They collaborated in the removal of litter, but also on raising on future aquaculture professions.
Lucia, sorry, we are just Lucia, sorry for interrupting you. Yes. Just sometimes we lose the signal. Can I ask you to go towards the conclusion?
Yes, indeed. I have the final.
You have just finished your 10 minutes. Sorry for saying this, but can you just
I will stop my camera, and it will maybe be easier.
No, but the problem is also the time, not only the fact that.
Okay, this is the last one.
To go towards the conclusion, said we will have time to.
Okay. Finally, we had also connections with the centers while watching, and also the researchers that are analyzing the introduction of noxious.
Okay, now we lost your signal. So
how how connecting the different activities a good asset to involve the community and the continuation of the tools that are being developed in the project. So this is from my side, and excuse me for extending too much.
No problem, Lucia. Also, your presentation was quite absolutely interesting. Also, the fact of making a strategy, raising awareness strategies, because the part of evaluation of a strategy awareness is sometimes under-evaluated. Okay, thank you also to you, and sorry for interrupting you. And now it's I will give the room to the floor to Mihaela Mirea Candea. She's executive director of Mare Nostrum, an NGO. She works every day to raise the respect towards the environment. Mihaela has a consistent involvement in non-profit sectors dedicated to the environmental protection, and in particular is interesting in this figure of project management professional, which is could be also interesting for our audience. I mean, to develop a profession that has to do with these issues. I give you just the. I will not take other time.
Thank you so much for introducing me. I hope that you see me and also you see my screen as well.
Yes, we see you and not yet the screen. Please share the screen and I'll tell you that it's okay.
I did that. Should work. Okay.
No, not yet. I mean, I cannot see. Try to interrupt and share it again.
I did that. You don't see it now?
No.
No.
At least I don't see. I don't know if the other one is it. I don't see it.
So
try to. You want to try to move the video off, or otherwise, if you send us a presentation, we can. I can ask.
I can share it if you don't manage.
Can you share it,
yes.
with Rita? Maybe it's better.
Okay, so let me just take the speaker.
So you guide Rita in doing this, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see if it works from my side.
Okay, we see it.
Okay, thank you, Rita, so much for helping me with this. And also I want to thank the BlueMed initiative for giving me the chance to present you one of the projects that are ongoing in the Black Sea. Is one project that is very interesting, and I decided to choose it from a lot of other projects that Mare Nostrum is currently implementing on marine litter in the Black Sea, because it had a quite very nice outcome. And this happened due to these public engagement workshops that were part of this project. So I'm talking about the Anemone project, and one specific activity that it was specially dedicated to stakeholder participation and public awareness on environmental issues. We prepared some public engagement workshops in all the partner countries. We can go to the next slide, please. Here you have the full consortium of the project, and I don't know if you recognize all these logos are very specific for the Black Sea, but I can tell you that we have partners from Romania, from Bulgaria, from Ukraine, and from Turkey. That means that we cover quite almost all the countries riparian to the Black Sea. So it was a very good thing for us, because it was the first time when this public engagement happened in almost all the countries in the Black Sea. We can go to the next one. And we dedicated one entire activity, one work package to the public engagement, and we connected it with the responsible research and innovation. You heard about these two concepts in the beginning when you heard some definitions of this type of concepts that we used also in the Anemone project. Why we did this, because it was a very good focus on the why, is because we want to make citizens part of the solution, part of the knowledge gathering and part of the entire process that goes from science to measures and to policy. And we managed to do that. Of course, this project took some years of preparation. People were ready from all the stakeholders to embrace this idea that citizens can be involved in science, in data collection, and not only in this, they can also contribute to identify measures and to propose policy. And this was the main, let's say, beautiful outcome of this Anemone project that it's still ongoing. We wanted to have a diversity of actors that normally would not interact among each other. For instance, it is commonly known that researchers usually don't talk to general public, and that's why the general public gets information from science that don't understand, that don't relate to, and they because of this they don't embrace the measures and the solutions the policy is proposing. So we wanted to take this public because marine litter is a very generous and very people-related issue, and because everyone loves the sea, especially during summertime, but not only. We all love the sea. We all love what the sea provides us. And we wanted to take this public to see what is really going on from this point of view of marine litter, but in a science way. I mean, we all went to the beach area, we saw litter on the shore, but we don't have the opportunity to understand how big is the issue, how complicated it is, where is this litter coming from, what are the main 10, let's say, most founded items on the beach area. So we did these public engagement workshops, and we can go to the next slide, where you can see that in all the partner countries, we had one workshop dedicated specifically to marine litter. It happened last year in March and April 2019, and we had students, teachers, citizens, and volunteers. I focus very much on the idea of citizens because we managed to gather people that were not involved in any institution, in any way, in a formal, let's say, activity that will provide them with information about the sea, about the marine litter in a scientific way. We had over 150 participants in all the 4 countries' workshops, and in the next slide, you will see that we had participants that gathered in a bigger room or in a smaller room. They had the opportunity to see the waste and to try to identify the waste in a scientific way, not just by seeing it and naming the fact that it's just marine litter. They used methodology that is provided by the technical group on marine litter that is working under the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. And in these 2 months, we covered all the countries with this common problem, the marine litter, a problem that every country identified, like the most important, the most visible, and the most, let's say, difficult to tackle in this moment. Maybe it's not like this, and maybe the ecosystem has many more issues to solve, but this marine litter is something that people see immediately, feel immediately, because people produce this, people pay for this, and people suffer from it. So they can relate very, very quickly with this marine litter, and that's why it's a very good topic for the public engagement activities. We can go to the next one, to the next slide. And we will see here that these workshops didn't happen only in a meeting room, in a meeting facility where they had the chance to learn about scientific information, to find out about previous studies, to learn about the methodology of how you can study and measure beach litter, they had the opportunity to apply everything and to go by themselves to see on the coastline what is happening and how this methodology is applied, because the idea was to start from public engagement to go to citizen science. And we had this many people involved in all the countries, performing almost in the same time one monitoring for the beach litter. Actually, it was for the first time when this happened in the Black Sea to have 4 countries involved in parallel in this type of data collection. They gather a lot of plastic and waste. You can see here some of the kilos they collected, but I have to say the fact that those amounts are quite low due to the fact that we focused the activity on the sample areas. I mean, we respected very, very carefully the methodology in order not to have biased data, to have bad data for our study. So we didn't perform just a cleanup activity. It was a methodology for data collection for marine litter in the beach area. And we can go to the next slide, where we go further on with this group of people, and we don't stop to applying the methodology. We also try to find common solutions. After those citizens had the opportunity to know about scientific studies and scientific perspective, they understand the methodology for data collection, they collected the data, they saw also the interpretation, I mean the results, what happened. We have this so much information. This gives us what image about our coastline and the degree of let's say the waste we find there. They try to propose also solutions that will go to policymakers, and they found 3 main pillars very important for solving this marine litter issue. One is education, that it's the key and the most important one. And they said that if people will really understand, will be really aware of what is really happening on the beach area and how this is influencing their life, then they will be more careful in protecting the sea, the ocean, and also the livelihood. And this education has to go in 2 ways, has to go to people, to citizens like them, but also to companies that work in the Black Sea area and have a great impact on the coastline. Also, it's very important that authorities impose very good legislation. First, we understood that we have some good piece of legislation, but unfortunately it's not very well applied. So we need this enforcement of legislation, and in the same time, why not, to try to improve it where we feel that we don't have very good, I don't know, penalties or maybe very clear explained processes that should be enforced. So this legislation was again another pillar for identified for the citizens, and of course one of the most important one, infrastructure, that has to do with improvement of infrastructure or creating where it is not the infrastructure there. We can go to the next slide. I'm seeing Alba, so probably my time is running. I kept a beautiful outcome of the project in the end, because people decided that they want to do a local decision on single-use plastic. They want to do a petition and to ask the municipality of Constanța to apply local legislation about single-use plastic. And after gathering the signatures, in December 2019, we have this local decision approved. What that means? It means that a directive that it's a Romanian legislation is enforced by a local decision, which for me is very important, because sometimes we have legislation and we don't apply it. But if local municipality is on board from the very beginning, from the first step, then the success is much more ensured. And with this, we can go to the final slide, I think, where I thank you for your attention, and I really hope that you see that this full process of the public engagement turns out very good solutions and very good outcomes if we trust in it.
Thank you, Mihaela, and sorry again for being pushing you towards the conclusion, but there are so many interesting aspects in each of your presentations, which it is also, I'm sorry that we cannot, but just one, again, the question of the communication between scientists and the public, and also with the local authorities. And one element that also would stress, that also was touched in the presentation so before, that is the relationship of people towards the environment, which is a one of affection, that is the affective. And this is a very important aspect. So let me give the floor, thank you again, Mihaela, to Macarena Marambio, Institute of Marine Sciences in Spain. She's a researcher at the Instituto de Ciencias del Mar di Barcelona, mainly focused on zooplankton, coastal management, citizen science research. I think this is already your okay, perfect, your screen. So I give you the floor. Thank you, Macarena.
Yes, you see the presentation. Do you see the presentation now?
Yes, yes, we see the presentation. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, well, welcome and thank you for the invitation. And I'm going to explain about the project Sea Watchers, Observadores del Mar. It's a marine citizen science platform working for a healthy ocean that has been launched in 2012. So we've been 8-9 years working with this, trying to involve different fields, scientific fields, but also different groups of citizens. So the scientific fields covered more or less biodiversity and dynamic of the species, effects of global warming, organisms that cause alert, exotic and invasive species, and marine litter. And so we have now on the project 13 different projects covering all these fields, but also different areas and different ways of observing and gathering data. By this, what we want to get is to get involved people from different areas. So the common pursuit goals is to collect biodiversity data, focusing mainly on species distribution and abundance, and impacts of anthropogenic activities, including climate change effects, colonization of exotic and invasive species, and episodic events, for example, different areas with jellyfish blooms. So we want to expand knowledge of native species. We aim to report species that cause an alert. We also aim to report pollution and its impact on living things, and detect impacts of climate change on the biology and distribution of the species and different populations. So the work of Sea Watchers is mainly focused in the consolidation of the citizen science pillars, the engagement of citizens, the good communication, contribution to science, improved ocean literacy, clear goals, and reliable data. So the community of Sea Watchers is mainly formed by citizens with a scientific eye, but includes a diverse group such as recreational and professional fishermen, educational centers, associations, divers, sailors. Anyone who loves the sea can participate. What we mostly encourage is curiosity, concern, and action. We also work with schools, encouraging the citizen science at the schools, specifically with one of the projects, Microplastic Watchers, And we have right now more than 2,000 students participating in the project from different areas of Spain. And the idea is to, with them, we work in some different way as the other projects inside the platform, but there is a continuous involvement with the groups that are gathering the data. And so what we believe for having reliable data with all the observations we gather is to produce standardized protocols for the data collection depending on the objectives of each project, because some of them have specific objectives during the year or along the project. So we produce the protocols, and we also train the groups for data collection. We make specific trainings, divings, whatever is necessary to form the groups that are involved, the entities involved in the project, so they can have they can get the data in a correct way. And then we have a committed team of more than 60 scientists validating all the observations and establishing a dialogue with the citizens. We believe that the information has to be good information, not only for scientists, it has to be also useful for the citizens. So they are looking for some answers, and we want to give some answers. So there is a continuous feedback. Also, data are transferred to international data portals, and it has been used for publishing in scientific journals. Right now, we had produced almost 20 different publications with the data collected from sea watchers. And so the good communication, of course, we follow all the social networks, and we have all the Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel just for engaging people, but also for giving answers and giving the feedback. They in some way they need to keep on participating and doing it with good incentivization. So how does it work? How to get involved? It's easy. It's like almost all citizen science projects. Just make a profile and get the observations, share and discuss. But one of the important things of Sea Watchers is that we have different open projects for participation. And this makes in some way like a plus in this platform, because you can choose in any of the projects you want to, or maybe the objective they are looking for. So invasive species or climate change. So it widens the public that we can engage. And we also have a challenges calendar that it's all year round, and it depends on the project, because there are some that have a specific objectives during some months of the year. So it depends on which project do you engage, that you can look for this time of the year, or you can participate in the ones that are all year round and are detecting specific things. And some numbers of the platform, the community is now formed with more than 2,500 observers, 248 organizations involved, and more than 60 scientists from different research institutions and universities, most of them in the Mediterranean. We have more than 12,000 observations, validated observations, and nowadays 13 projects, but we're wondering to include maybe some more this summer. So we consider a successful marine citizen science initiative that has been working for these last 9 years. And what's next? We are involved in a marine citizen science program for 5 years, and we are planning to expand these citizen science actions across the Spanish coastal areas, focusing mainly in the Natura 2000 network sites. We are also planning to, we're working, more than planning, working already in the Sentinel Observatories network, that it includes diving clubs, centuries, universities, and any organization that the idea is that they commit with the project, so they can have a continuous monitoring of their specific area and following the protocols and the challenges. So it's easier to expand the area that we are gathering the data, and so we can give better answers. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. And the take-home message is that we need eyes. We need involved people to be in the right place at the right time, because for scientists it's not possible. And I think also that if we involve all the people, we're all involved, then the solution is part of all of us. So we can work on some better management plans and conservation plans.
Thank you very much, Macarena, also for staying in the time, and also your presentation full of very interesting aspects. Yes, this final message, take-home message is very important. That is not only people need, but also science needs. So they all need each other. And also I appreciated very much this concept of useful information. That is an information that is a data that is not only valid from the scientific point of view, but is also useful. So that responds to an interest or is a solution of a problem. So really very much, thank you very much. So last but not least, our two BlueMed ambassadors. I'm not sure, is Badr also connected? Because Ines was connected. These two, okay, here she is. So this 10 minutes left are for our two BlueMed young ambassadors, Ines and Badr from Tunisia, Badr from Morocco. Can you confirm me, Ines, if Badr is present, or you are just making your presentation?
He is connected. I can see him.
Okay. So I leave you the room, so you really will present yourself much more effectively than me. Thank you very much.
All right, so should I start now?
Yes, please start.
All right, because I couldn't hear you well. All right, thank you, Alba, for this introduction. And thank you, BlueMed, for giving me the opportunity to share with you a Tunisian experience involving citizens titled MICA. So let me put the full screen. Do you see my presentation now?
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
All right. So now I will start by showing some beautiful pictures of Tunisia. We might notice that every country has a wonderful side. However, issues are always present. And here we're not talking about national issues, and we are talking about global ones. So when it comes to pollution, let me show you a small video that describes how pollution is extended on all oceans, and plastic travels through marine currents. So this highlights the need for regional and collaborative approach, and we need to stand all together for our planet before it's too late. So I will introduce a research action launched by INSTM, a National Institute of Marine Sciences and Technologies, and these actions really describes how plastic pollution is destroying our health, the long-term fishing, and everything related to citizens and our planet. So MICA is Microplastics in Climate Action. And the main objective of MICA is the characterization and quantification of microplastic debris in water, sediment, and biota. So we have a plastic waste accumulation, which is very important in Sfax, and it is in the southern Mediterranean Sea. So the common clam is really important because it is the biological material for this study, as it is a filtering organism and a bioindicator. that gives information about the quality of the environment. So in this action, there is a particular attention dedicated to citizen science related to women, because we had the contribution of women in science, which are who are citizens, and we have also a research action called microplastic. So I'm glad to share with you my experience with these women, because I contributed to the collection of clams with them. So first of all, let me introduce you the study area. It is really an important study area because we have a particular tidal fluctuation, and it is scientifically known as a hotspot of plastic accumulation, with being close to industrial pollution. So here, what is really special about these women involved in this action is that they were really worried about what is happening in the sea, because they are closely related to the sea and its resources. And they started to ask me what is going on, and why can't we find more clams than we used before. And they really started to be and to get involved in this research and in this science, because they live from clams, and they wanted to make this development sustainable, so that they could live and make it accessible to the future generations as well. So even though these women don't have an academic background related to marine sciences, and even though me as a scientist, a fisher, and a citizen as well gave them information about what's going on because of plastic pollution, but we also got an important information from them, even though they don't have an academic background, because they have an experience in the field, and the identification of species and more information about degradation of habitats were very important for research purposes. So now I will show you a slide dedicated to gender equality, because I needed to show you the real life of these women, these brave women, because when I contributed to the clams collection, I discovered from them several overwhelming stories. And the story that affected me more is that they previously suffered due to the surrounding hard conditions. And when I said gender equality in Tunisia is evolving, is that before these women used to buy a kilo for 1 or 2 dinners. Clams are really costly, and some people were using them with the low cost price for clams. So they had a touch of hope from several associations in Sfax, and these associations were led by women as well, and they defended their rights. They gave them many things so that they could live a respectful and a better way of life. And these brave women as well defended their rights, and they continued to collect clams even though they have the surrounding hard conditions. So which is really important during this citizen science action, in this research action, is that people want to save the environment as well, the marine environment, because they live from the resources. Many people live from the sea. We need to protect the long-term fishing as well, and we need to protect the health of the future generations. So we have a hope that citizens became active players in science. And the importance of women, for instance, is essential in order to build together a shared sustainable path. So thank you all for following my presentation. And just a blue message for Tunisia. We need everyone to tackle marine pollution and plastic pollution in general, because it's really impacting our health and our future generations. Just think about the future generations, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ines, also for the enthusiasm of your presentation. Is Badr already connected? Because he should follow your presentation. Yes, he is connected. Okay. So, but are we going to see you? Okay, perfect. Okay, I can disappear. 5 minutes also for you. Thank you, Badr.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Badr El Mahrad, and I'm a BlueMed Youth Ambassador from Morocco. I'm working also as a research fellow on coastal marine management between Morocco and Portugal. So today, the story that I'm going to talk about is, do you know this movie that calls The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? But me, I will talk about the good, the bad, and the beautiful, and I will relate this to Moroccan situation. The good is we have a really nice coastline, 3,000 kilometers. So this is from Tangier from the north, the Rabat in the center, also Essaouira in the center, which is known by surf and fish, and also Dakhla, which is a desertic environment in the south of Morocco. So we know this is the good things in Morocco. We have a really nice coastline and a big one, a large one. The bad things that are really bad is that we have many kind of pollutions in the ocean. I will see this one from the industries, the waste industries. So you can see that this is a really bad situation. We have also another type of pollution, which is eutrophication. I think everyone knows here this, which is due also to the waste from the industries in front of the coastlines. And we have one of the biggest issues is the marine litter, which we are not taking it seriously regarding the ocean. So a last analysis in Morocco, we find out that 85% of the waste found from a survey in the coastline of Morocco, are plastics. So in Morocco, we produce more than 690 tons of plastics, 57% of it linked into nature. If we take only the Mediterranean side of Morocco, 18% of this plastic are rejected to the sea. So this can lead to me as a young person, as a scientist, as a citizen, and how to fight the pollution into the ocean. And this is one the main things that lead me to join the BlueMed initiative. As a scientist, I mean, the work I have worked on it is to produce a research scientific base. I mean, as we say, the scientific based knowledge. And here we show that the presence of marine litter can be found in many areas of the coastline, not only in Morocco, but in many other countries in North Africa. As you can see here, many lagoons have the presence of marine litter. And how I can change this as a scientist and as a citizen is through a peer education approach. And the purpose of this approach is to shift in you to take action for sustainability. And for the main objective is the marine plastic in this case. The idea is to take for example, this is me, and we take 4 or 5 young scientists who are working in marine geophysics and who are more working on marine geoscience, but they don't care really about the marine litter issue, especially the marine plastic. So to train these 5 leaders, and then they will approach other young researchers, because today if I'm 1, tomorrow we can be 5, and then the 5 can influence 10, and then the 10 will be 20, and then the 20 will be hundreds, and the hundreds will be 1,000. So this is the approach, is to take your peers that you share the same thing. We are young scientists, we care about the environment, but here we are tackling the marine issues. So this can happen through the conference. This is a conference that we have organized in our association to teach the young scientists. They're working on the environmental fields, and they're working on the marine and the coastal areas, but they don't know, or they don't work really, or they don't integrate the marine plastic issue. And due to the pandemic that happens on the last time, the easy way was to organize conferences and the webinars. So here is an example of a webinar where I have talked about the issue of anthropogenic debris on Moroccan and Mediterranean water, coast, and seas. And many people since then, they have been introducing the marine plastic within their research. They take in consideration in their research the marine plastic issue, and they start to think about it. And this conference have led to integrate many other people with us, some stakeholders, NGO, marine policymakers, and scientists who are included with us. So these young scientists have been going to the fisher and identifying each region a leader of fishermen. For example, we take a leader who have the spirit of leadership or who can guide the other ones. We teach him about the marine litter issue, how they can protect the environment, how to raise awareness. And because he have his peers, they are fishers, he can influence them. And if today we have one fisher leader that it is awareness about the problem, tomorrow they will be 2, and tomorrow there will be 4. And this is the approach of the peer education network, because the objective is to reach as many as we can through the peer education network. So with the people that they share the same knowledge, the same environment, the same work, the same job, the same behavior as well. And this is what we call the butterfly effect, because we want a coastline and a sea that is clean for everyone, the new generation, the old generation, and for all generation. And this is what we call the power of future generation on saving our BlueMed, I mean our sea, from a little small scale or individual scale. And this is how we can think big and then think blue. And thank you.
Thank you. Also, thank you to Badr. Thank you again. Thank you for both of you, because these 2 closing presentations bring us to some main issues, which is the role of young scientists, but not only scientists, but also of women, as Ines stressed, and also the particular issue of plastic pollution. And last but not least, the importance of networks that can grow. Now I just ask all of you participants to show your faces. We have not so much time. Actually, we have not time at all, but I would like you to turn on your webcams for we received some questions actually, but Rita, maybe we can make our panelists answer directly to the what can we do now for the, because we not have so much time less.
So we can we have a couple of questions. One was for Francesca: how was marine litter collected and classified? And the other was for Mihaela, and asking for some more details, practical details of how you engage citizens. We don't have time actually, so maybe we just ask Francesca and Mihaela to answer briefly, and then we ask other people that want to ask questions to go to the web page. There will be the comment field, and we will ask our presenters to answer. We will send them the questions if they don't see it. So maybe this can be the best option.
So the first one was for Lucia.
No, for Francesca. How was marine litter collected and classified?
Yes, that depends a lot on the country. So, for example, in Italy, in the city where the fishing for litter were carried out, it was similar to the urban waste, so it was easier to dispose of the litter collected. In other countries, in other cities, it's more complicated. So the legislation is not still very clear. Also, if there are new directives now, and most probably it will be classified as boat waste, so vessel waste. So we'll see what will happen. And also how it was collected. Simply, fishermen put all the litter in bags that we provided them with, and then landed these bags on land, and then it was put in a very big bin, and let's say it was a bin dedicated only for the fishing for litter activities. So this is also important to say. So this is briefly the answer. There's not one answer, sorry.
Can you imagine it?
Yeah, the person who was asking was mentioning bycatch from fisheries activities. I think this was one of the cases.
Yes, of course. Litter were taken as bycatch, and it was accidentally caught in their nets during their daily fishing activities. So it was not something specific for the litter, but during their activity, they also on a daily basis, really collect litter. So this is the question is what to do with this litter now that we have it on board. So.
Exactly. And the other one was for Mihaela. Could you explain or could you give some more practical details on how you engage citizens? You explained it a lot actually in the presentation. So maybe if you want to add something for this attendee. Mihaela? I'm not sure we can hear you.
We can't hear you, Mihaela.
And she's writing, so maybe she has an issue as well.
Now it works. As I said, Mare Nostrum has an extensive activity in the area. We have 25 years from before, so we are very well known in the community. We communicated a lot on social media, letting people know that they have this opportunity to engage themselves in the Anemone project. And as I said before, we use this marine litter topic, which is very close to their heart and their interest. So they relate very quickly with this type of idea. So because of this, it was very easy for us to engage them. Also, we gave them the whole process from knowledge sharing, data collection, interpretation, and afterwards proposing solutions and that local decision that emerged from their own ideas. So it was the full process that motivated them to stay till the end in this engaged project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we can close. I asked Erasmia to also to say this. We can do a broad panorama of opportunities of communities, cities, of purposes, and also of conclusions, because each of you had his or her own take-home message, I must say. So different each of you, each another. So Erasmia, now if you want to.
Yes, just I would like to thank all of you, the panelists and the two of you, for creating such an interesting presentation at the end of our sessions. The courses today was really interesting. And also just a few technical notes that after today we will close the ability for new registrations, but all the material will be available online for everybody to follow. And if interested, revisit or see any of the lessons that you have not had the time to follow yet. Also to inform those, particularly those of you that are interested in getting declarations of participations, that because the course was designed to be followed asynchronously. We have decided to allow more time until September for all those registered to view the lessons that they are interested in before administering those declarations. And finally, we really hope that the webinars and the lessons that we have provided answer to your questions and expectations you had at the beginning of the course relating to litter and the issues going on in the Mediterranean. And I would also like to take this opportunity to inform you that in March, the BlueMed CSA and the Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community are organizing a course in Venice relating to citizen participation, and Alba and Rita are participating in that, so you can ask them more, but I will provide you with the link in the chat because the course is called Science Policy Society Interaction in Ecosystem-Based Marine Resources and Planning. And here for all of you is the link so that you can register and participate if you're interested in this course as well.
The deadline, if I remember well, is the 31st of July, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. You've got 10 days to decide if you want to register in this. Okay.
Okay. Thank you to all of you, and also to all the participants, and also to the audience, and see you soon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Spegniamo.